Well, here we are at long last, ready to start part 3 of the motion assignments review and critique. So let's leap right square into it. Well, this was an interesting leap, considering, or a hop perhaps, considering that we've got a bunny cleverly disguised as a little girl with sunglasses. So, okay, it is what it is. We have a blur, a motion blur. The shot was long enough to let the figure blur as it came down the little slide. Okay, well, we accomplished that. My question is, does this shot really tell the story of the little girl's exuberance and fun at playing down this slide? Or is it just a blurry shot done because the assignment required it to be a blurry shot? I don't know the answer to that. I'll give you credit for making the blurry shot, but really try to make the techniques that we do count in the shot to tell your story. If there is no story to your shot, there is no shot. It's a snapshot, it's an I was there, it's a wow, cool, this is what it looked like shot, but that's all. If you want to carry your photography to the next level, if you want to make it really sing and have people sit up and take notice of it, then all of these techniques are tools that you can put in your tool belt to create the images that tell your story about the event or the subject or whatever it is you're shooting. So now is the time to start practicing doing that and making each of your shot counts. Well, we had a dog running in the surf, and now we have a dog running in the sand or running in the dirt or wherever this is. It's a nice capture of the dog. You definitely got him in full flight with a little puff of dust coming off his hind legs as he pushes off into this next step. So you definitely caught the action here. As with the dog in the surf, I believe I would move in on it a little, though, to really emphasize it. None of this background has any real important thing to say about the shot. So I'd get rid of it and let the dog speak for himself, or the dog's action at least speak for itself. But it's a nice catch. You did a good job on that. And here we have another view of the dog, this time catching a tennis ball in his ravenous jaws. This one froze the action, but then so did the other one. In this one, I'm making the assumption that the dog normally is not bipedal and doesn't normally dance around like this, so you've caught him in the air. Not a particularly flattering shot of the dog or a fun shot of it doing its thing, but it did catch it. You did freeze it. You caught it in mid-action. Cool. Once again, let's decide where the shot is and zero in on that. Or maybe it's right in here. Maybe the actual shot, come to think of it, is much tighter even than that. Maybe it's really something more like that. Well, here's another interesting catch of little girl playing. Is this the same little girl with the bunny ears and everything that are hidden behind? Could be different outfit, but or it seems to be, but it looks an awful lot like this jungle gym back here was the same. In this case, we did catch her in motion, freezing that motion. You certainly did that. The idea of having her in the air with her hair flying pulls that off. If the shot is about the little girl in the air, playing, having a great time, how much of this is an important contribution to it? I would suggest that your shot really is in here. Every little room for forward momentum. And that would be your shot, especially if the background were blurred out a little bit more. Because now we're into the action. Now we're into the person doing the action. The shot isn't about the background. It's about the kid having fun. So really think, what's your shot about? That's what's going to sell it. That's what's going to make it a memorable shot, is if you let us know, what's it about? What's your connection with this shot? Is it with this background? I'll bet it's really about this, about the kid. Well, here's a nice playful pooch running towards us with his anticipation of some fun and play all on his face. Tongue hanging out. It's a good catch. Nice moment with the dog. Again, we've got a lot of stuff here we don't really need. We could pull in tight. Here's really your shot, is the dog and the face and all of that. Don't you think? Am I wrong about that? Is the shot really about the backyard fence? I'm just guessing here, but I'm guessing it isn't. I'm guessing at the most, it's about that. And at its strongest, it's really about that. Maybe a little more. There we go. And that it's really more about that. So make that your shot. Don't live with something just because it's the way the camera took it. Your camera's a tool. That's all it is. Don't let your camera become the artist for you. It can't do it very well. Modern cameras are wonderful and they can handle almost all of the technical issues. But they are not artists, and they cannot handle replacing your eye and your vision. That's for you, and you get to do it. But you have to do it. Okay. Well, all right. But where in this shot is the shot? How often do I end up having to ask that? It's in this motion with the flying hair and the head shake to make this work. So let's make that the shot. Give him a little more room to move over here. Now you've got everything that was important about that other shot in terms of the motion part of the assignment. On a personal level, I wouldn't deem to judge what was really important about that. But from a photographic motion standpoint, this is where the photograph lays. And that's all you need to have captured. You did capture the motion. Did a good job on that. Motion blur. The fountains with the long exposure. It is blurring. It does give an interesting sense to this image. I would probably bring the background exposure down a little and do a little careful manipulation of that. And I'd do it this way. I'd do it with a layer mask and make the the duplicate image rather, come up, tell it to multiply. Well, that's much better already. Let me lighten it just a little. And then if I were going to lighten anything, I just clicked on the layer mask. I want a black brush. My opacity is about 35%, which is more than enough. And then I might come in and lighten these trees just ever so slightly. I might lighten along here. Now with the brush at 34%, it's not going to do a whole lot. If you look over here at the icon, we haven't done much because I think it only needs a pretty subtle adjustment. Now our question would be, what if we do it again? What if we make this now we're really getting into this. This could be pretty interesting. And this was a pretty simple correction to make. Nice sky, nice light on the buildings. All of this is working pretty well. With this then we could come through, and lighten up the spray a little bit on this. Maybe we want to do the same thing here, so it's a little bit lighter. Doing this with a really soft brush. And now we've got a pretty interesting night scene. Good concept. Good concept. Minimal work to make this really sing. Well, this is allegedly the blur. Oh, I see. He is blurred a little bit. Barely, but he is blurred a little bit. I'm not sure whether that's a statement now about him being a little fuzzy around the edges or what exactly. This is an interesting background, by the way. I'm not sure what it has to do with him, but it's really a fascinating background. So do we come in and crop on this to talk about him? Well, I'm not sure we'd want to because he's out of focus a little bit. And I'm not sure, given the way this is shot, that really the shot's even about him if we were to judge it on that level. So really think about these things. Don't just do the technique because I asked you to. Do it because it serves an image. And in this case, you also want to think about straightening this horizon line because it's definitely out of plumb. It almost looks like it's a wide-angle shot because it's going in a different direction here. Now those are wood, they could be warped, they could potentially not be square themselves. This wall is square. That wall is pretty close. Maybe this is going uphill. Maybe it actually is going uphill. And that the distance between this and this is not the same because it's actually built on a slant. Well, that could well be true and be the fact of this shot. But unless it's explained in how the shot goes together, then it's simply going to look a little crooked, and you'd be better off doing our skew routine and pulling this line down a little so that we don't get distracted wondering about if this is square or not and have to analyze it like I just did. And here we've reached the last shot submitted in time for the motion critique. An interesting catch, interesting statement in here. I'm not sure why we have this black border here. Is this the edge of this bookcase, or is it something else? I would most certainly get rid of it because it's a little distracting. Our shot, of course, is right here. And she's moving in this direction. Her body language, the body movement, it's all moving this way. Now her hair hanging perfectly straight almost makes me think that this is just, she reached up and you said, hold it, I need to make sure this looks like a freeze. But I'll give you the benefit of doubt on that one. It is frozen. But I would readjust this a little bit. All of these books are going up and down. You've got these incredibly powerful directional lines pointing at her. All of that's powerful stuff. So let's force the issue a little bit. Let's first of all get rid of that border over on the screen right. And then let's push this in to where we know these are stacks in a library. We don't have to be able to count the books there. We've created a background that works a little. So let's come in. And now let the composition help with this forward motion up into this direction. Whether she's putting something away or taking it down really isn't important. It's the movement that's important. And this helps us say that a little bit. Okay, so that's the end of the motion review. Just to reiterate something I've said over and over and over, whenever I give you an assignment that is really based around a technique, it's because I want you to learn that technique, but I don't want you to learn it just as a technical skill like hitting a nail with a hammer. I want you to learn it so that you can now use it to create images that convey your vision for what that image should say. And that means now's the time to start practicing that when you've got a chance to do it and earn some points for it. So work on those. Work on the idea that the story of the shot, the message of the shot, is really everything. That's got to be what makes it work or not. So I'll see you on the next assignment. Take care.